Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Shed Geek podcast on Magnificent Monday. I am Susan the Shed Gal, and I am so excited. I have two wonderful guests today. And on one side of me is my friend Steve Deubel. Steve is out of Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm going to let him introduce himself in just a minute. And then on my other side is Matt Walton out of Las Vegas, which is where we are right now taping this episode. So who'd like to go first to introduce yourselves? And thank you for both joining me. We've had some great fun today learning and being here at your business. Who wants to tell us about themselves?
It's been trying because you're so busy.
It's been crazy.
But we nailed you down in Vegas.
That's right. We came to Vegas. Well, actually, real quick side note before they introduce themselves, Steve and I taped a television show a few months ago that's going to be out near the end of the year or the first of the year, and I'm sure that I'll let you all know about that. But it was an entrepreneurial boot camp show, and so that's how we met and became friends. So with that, welcome. Let's start with you, Steve. Introduce yourself. Tell us about your business and what you do.
Okay. Well, I'm as Susan said, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I own Ideal Home Improvement, where we do all kinds of renovations, solar, and also a few years ago, I had changed the theme of my show from basically renovations, and I got involved with container homes. Okay, and then I don't remember how it all came about, but I know I found Matt's in Vegas, not walking the streets, but he had his business here, and I sought him out because I thought it was a unique way of utilizing containers, which is some of the things we try and talk about on Boxcar Universe, where we talk about all things containers. And I came up and had met with Matt and his lovely wife, Nicole, and we were talking about, what he does, and he gave me the tour. And it was just a unique thing, because when I talk to people in Phoenix about, would you like a container home or a container pool? And they turn around and they say, container pool? What's that? So, after Susan and I had met, she said, when she knew I was talking about those two things, she said, "Oh, we have to talk."
Yeah, I did
to
say
talk.
That.
So, and then I spoke with, we spoke with Matt and talking about that, and our other friend Chris, who's in Phoenix, out in the East Valley, and with this great adventure that we'll call it an adventure that Susan's embarking on in Phoenix, where there's going to be every kind of shed that you can imagine that's made in the universe. But we're also going to have a container pool model and a container a home model, which is going to be really great. So this way, because everybody wants to come, they want to look at it, and when they see it, they're like, wow, I never thought that you could do something like that. Or homes are really they don't look that big. Or when they see a pool model and I show them pictures, they're like, that's just amazing. And it's another way of being, utilizing sustainable products, because otherwise these containers would be put out to pasture in a landfill somewhere and they'd rust and then they'd never be used. And the bad thing about it is when they're all used, that's exactly what they do. They go out, and we'll call it like down in Tucson, where they have where they put all the planes out to pasture.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
They put all the containers out to pasture. So it's a great thing. So that's what we try and do. We try and do all that for all our listeners and customers in Phoenix. And we've been actually in business since 1991. So I feel that I'm a transplanted New Yorker now living in Phoenix.
That's right. Well, I'm sure glad you're here, and I'm glad we met a few months ago. One of the things that we're going to talk about on this week's episode, as a shed dealer who started out selling just sheds and had, whopping 8 or 10 or 12 display models on my lot, things are not as they were 6, 7, 8 years ago in the shed industry, and it's more challenging now. And I hear it all the time talking to dealers. So I think one of the things that I've done a good job incorporating other items into this. So we're going to talk this episode primarily about container pools and solar and different things that you could utilize on your shed or metal building lot to help you increase your sales. And if you're a manufacturer and you're listening and you do metal buildings or you do just sheds, don't panic, keep listening. This is dealers will stay with you longer and represent you longer if they sell more and make more money, and they can do that by offering more items that bring more people to their display lots. So with that being said, welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Live from Las Vegas, Nevada today. I feel like a rock star. It's crazy. Tell me about your business.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for having me on your show, and thanks for coming out. I mean, y'all traveled several hours to come out here and to tour the facility and to be a part of, I think, day one, day two of our partnership. So, so grateful for that, and thankful for the time and the expenses that you had to make to come out here. So I don't take that lightly at all. And we're about to get into something really cool. She's, as y'all have heard, is going to have a container pool on her lot, which will have some content, I'm sure, of that soon. But my business is Container Pools. So, and my name is Matt Walton, and what we do is we repurpose shipping containers and we build swimming pools out of them. And I'm one of two people in the whole world that does a fiberglass shell on the inside of the container. So that really sets us apart. Number one, in just our quality, longevity, how it's insulated, the container and the fiberglass shell, so it aids more in year-round swimming. There's just a number of things outside of the container that sets us apart. So, so that's what we do. But what we are about is we make an impact in our community, and we're about advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ. And so what that means in business is I hire guys that are in prison or getting out of prison or on the streets, and we give them an opportunity. So some people will call that like a second chance employer. And when they're here, we teach them how to just live life, right? How to manage, finances, or how to save finances. We teach them about Jesus. We pray over them. We teach them how to get back in their kids' life, how to be a better dad, and those kinds of things. So that's what the business really exists for, is to make an impact in the kingdom. And I believe that if we can make an impact with these people that are in prison and getting out of prison, that's how we bring the families back together. And then that's ultimately how we change a community, that will change a neighborhood, that will change a city, that will change a state, will change a country, that will change the world. And I believe it starts in business. So any business owner that's out there that may not use their business to make an impact, number one, that is okay. But hopefully this will encourage you to start thinking in that regard, because it is a beautiful thing to pursue an impact over money.
Wow. Well, and I'm actually glad you brought that up, because we're here today, and Brendan, who's running the Phoenix lot, is here with us and did a tour of your facility. And it is, number one, I didn't mention this out there, but lean manufacturing came to mind as far as very, very organized. You talked about having processes in place and standard operating procedures and delegating, all these magical words that mean a lot to us business people. And then you started talking about, like, something that touches my heart is like, you're in business. Yeah, we're all in business to make money. There's no doubt about that. But like, you're literally changing people's lives. We'll get to your product, and we're going to put up some great pictures and post your website and all that, because your product is incredible. But the vision behind the product and the way that you are truly changing people's lives. So we mentioned this. I had looked it up a few years ago. Norway has a 20% recidivism rate of going back to prison after 5 years. The United States has an 80% recidivism rate. And just my opinion, we treat prisoners like animals, and then we wonder why they act like animals sometimes. Because they don't have the tools, they haven't been taught, or for whatever reason, like you said, choices earlier. But what you're doing is literally changing the trajectory of these folks' lives that are working for you. Greetings from the Shed Gal. As I delve deeper into the shed and steel building industries, I am thrilled to establish connections with friends who offer amazing products, such as Wendell Hochstetler, the owner of VersaBend Tube Bender. At VersaBend, they thank you for your interest in their tube bender. The VersaBend is designed to bend 2-inch, 2 1/4 inch, and 2 1/2 inch square tubing, as well as 2 by 3 inch rectangular tubing in either 14 or 12 gauge. Powered by a robust 5 horsepower unit, it features 2 adjustable stops for setting your desired degree or pitch. Priced at just $19,500 and shipped from Abbeville, South Carolina, you can secure your VersaBend with a down payment of only $1,500. Contact them today to check availability and get placed on their order list. VersaBend is a family-owned business dedicated to providing an easy-to-operate bender made with off-the-shelf components. A unique feature of their bender is that it offers a full radius bend, unlike the double crushed bends produced by most other machines. Want to see it in action? Visit their website at www.csecarport.supply or give them a call at 864-446-3645. You had mentioned earlier about doing outreach in your community, I believe once a month. Mm-hmm. And that you actually pay your employees to go do that. And again, remember he mentioned they're prisoners that are on work release and then they go back to prison after work. And that one of them said to you, "You don't get paid? I don't get paid." No. Meaning they were also foregoing their paycheck to go serve. Like that tells me right then and there, like just that one thing, you've already made an impact. Because do you think that that same person would have maybe felt that way 10 years ago or?
Yeah. So the story behind that is, so I'm a big believer in God is the owner of my business. I am a steward of his business. So what that equates to when we look at scripture, we see God calls his leaders as servants. And so what that means is that I am to be a servant and then I am to steward what God has entrusted me with. So all of this, the shop in the back, all the people is what God has put me in charge of to steward well and ultimately to bring him glory and to advance his kingdom. So that's kind of the foundation as to why. Then I started praying, okay, God, how do you want me to give? You know, all of this is yours, so how do you want me to give through your business? And it took like several months. And, do you want me to write a check? Do you want me to, how does that look? And so what God had spoken to me about was doing a serve day once a month, where I stop production once a month and we go serve those that serve within the community. So generally, like ministries, they're not being served, they're the ones that are serving. So we'll go and we'll serve them, painting walls, doing a number of different things. And we extend that all the way out. We haven't had this happen yet, but we extend it out to pastors and everything and say, hey, do you have any needs at your home? Because I can send a couple of guys and we can take care of those. But the idea behind this is we stop production one day a month on Friday. It's the first Friday of every month. And no matter how big the operation gets, no matter what, that will be something that we always do as long as God has called us to do that. And then we're always preaching to the guys, we're talking to the guys about why we do that. We do that because of our obedience to God's word. But then it's to give them a perspective of service and to take us out of self. And it's really to get us to the end of self. And the really cool story that came out of that, I always had a dream of if we can just help everybody understand that service doesn't always look like a bunch of cameras and a news camera there shooting a story and explaining your story. There may be nobody around, nobody may see you, and that's really where service begins right there. And so I talked to the guys about that. I have a short message for them. We pray over them. And I had one of my guys is actually going on his 11th year in prison right now. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, Matt," and I told the guys, like, "Hey, I'll pay you guys. Y'all don't worry about that. But hey, Matt, like, are you?" He like asked me, "Are you going to pay me for this, like, to go out?" I'm like, "Yeah, baby. Like, well, I'll pay you to go out and do what you're doing. I'm paying all the guys to do that. And it's just the business. We just go out and we serve." And he was like, "Well, man, if you're doing that, I want to do that too, man. I want to go out and serve." So he actually requested to be clocked out. So he'll clock himself out every time that we do a serve day, and then he just goes and serve. But that right there exhibits the heartbeat of Christ and why we do that. And it made me super, super happy and just proud of him, because when we start to understand that the reason for our businesses, the reason why we make an impact, the reason why we have social media platforms, the reason why we have any influence that we have is because God has given that to us, and it's up to us to be obedient to what he's given this to us for, and to operate out of that obedience. And when we do, then there's like no toil. And all of a sudden we find ourselves working on our business instead of in our business. We find ourselves having lives transformed within our business on the clock. Guys making comments like that, or other stories of a guy giving his life over to Christ during a quarterly meeting. Beautiful moments of prayer for healing and all of that come out of on the clock moments, because you just, that's a desire to be to advance his kingdom and to quit pursuing money over everything and instead pursue impact over everything, knowing that God's word, if it's true, it's true. And it says, if you pursue the kingdom, then God will add all these other things to you. So that's what we're all about, pursuing the kingdom, being obedient, and serving those that may not get served.
I love it. I love it. Every time I do one of these episodes, it's the story behind it that is that's the coolest part. I mean, I don't know any other word. It's the coolest part, the story behind it. So we came up here. I didn't know any of that before we got here earlier this morning. And, we came up to do training. You had been here before, met them a couple years ago. And we came up to do training because we're going to offer this cool product on our Phoenix lot to start with. And we can actually sell these worldwide, people. Hint, hint. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what the product is. The message is...
That's it?
Yeah.
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 Very interesting. Let's talk a little bit about your product. Now, you're not a shed dealer, okay? You're a container pool manufacturer, and very high-end product. I learned something today. I didn't know the price of a swimming pool, and I had heard some numbers thrown out in Phoenix about like a starter pool, starting at like $75,000. And you kind of confirmed that with some numbers you threw out earlier. And is that your experience too? So, when you're looking at your product, the price point is better. The benefit is you can actually move these and take them with you, but they are spectacular. They are absolutely, this is a very high-end product. So we're gonna show lots of great pictures of these. So let's talk about it. You and your wife and family moved here from Houston, Texas.
Yep.
What did you do in Houston? What were you doing there?
Yeah, so I had a business in Houston that was doing like in-ground pools, just anything backyard. So like landscaping, covered patios, decking, kitchens, like all of that. And I was in a meeting with an architect. So I'll kind of get in briefly just the story. But was in a meeting with an architect that was based out of California, and she had mentioned about doing, and we were designing a pool for a really small yard. And she had mentioned about doing a container pool. And so I sprang into just doing research on that, and then started to notice the trends in the markets and how pools and the housing market was moving towards pre-manufactured products. And ultimately, that led me to strike up a partnership with the previous owners that, like, within a year, within about a year and a half, I was relocating out here. So I got a phone call one day, like, "Hey, have you thought about buying the business?" And at that time, I was actually talking to them about franchising it and bringing it down to Houston. And I was simultaneously talking to my family about going in and doing a family business together. Other people in my family, they had a business, and then me and my wife, we had our own business as well. And the opportunity came up to collaborate. We reviewed the business, and we made the move in May 16th of 2022. So I picked up, sold everything, and put everything that I had into this business here, like literally everything. There wasn't an ounce of energy or dollar that could have still gone into this. So it was really cool to kind of go all in on something. The only other things I've gone all in on is my relationship with the Lord and my wife and our relationship. So what that means is when we got out here, we just immediately started rocking and rolling. And the reason why, going back to the what you had mentioned about the product, the reason why this product was so appealing to me was because the superiority of the fiberglass shell. Nobody else in the United States was doing the fiberglass shell. So that landed me to continue to research this company here and ultimately buy this company here, and then turned it into what we're doing today. But we shoot fiberglass. The way we insulate these things are different. The way we paint them is different. It's a really, really high-end product that's built to last for a lifetime. And so now going back to the business, what we do is now I've got my whole family. My wife does some stuff. My mom does some stuff. My dad does some stuff. My sister. So we have kind of everybody within the family that adds their value to the business, and wouldn't be able to do it without any of them. So we're just incredibly blessed to have that. I walk in every day and I get to see my daughter, get to see my wife, get to see my family, and it couldn't get any better than that. And what that means for you guys, or for the end user, is we operate out of excellence, and that's a biblical standard, but we operate that way because, man, it's our family name. And that's going on these products. And so, and more importantly than that, we want to make sure that our end user is happy. So we're always looking to, I'm always researching the next product to either implement or to change within the current product to bring it up to an even higher standard. So, anyways.
I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love it. So, Steve, you and I have talked about, because you do a lot of different stuff, and you are a networking king. Like, if you need to know of who does something, you call Steve, or at least I do, right? So let's talk about, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this a whole lot, maybe when we were up in Tulsa, but why do you think that a shed dealer or a metal building dealer, why would it be beneficial to have shipping container pools? Now my brain couldn't foresee what a shipping container pool. So I'm imagining the ugliest shipping container I've ever seen in my life, with a jagged edged, the roof cut off and water thrown in it. That's what you thought it was originally. Well, that's what before I told you about it. And then I see them and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, these are spectacular. I mean, I'm looking at these pictures on the wall. But why do you think it is for a shed dealer or a metal building dealer? Why would it be beneficial for them to have, or shed manufacturer, to support their dealers in having other products?
Well, I think it's important when you go back and look at your initial concept, mm-hmm. because if you take your initial concept and you could go anywhere. You can go to a Home Depot, or you can go to Lowe's, and you go out in the parking lot, and what do you see? They say all these different kind of small kinds of sheds of all shapes and sizes, all different manufacturers, and all they are they all serve a purpose. Right. However, okay, it's like I kind of try and equate it to like a car lot. Because if you want to get a wide variety of good, better, or best, yes. Okay, that's what you're going to see at your lot. Versus if you go to a Lowe's or Home Depot, you've got and they have all their contracts with them, but they have to accept only what those manufacturers provide. Yeah, your lot is going to have such a bigger variety of things that, and it's like I hate to use. I love to. I on my podcast, when I come up with different words and stuff like that, or different sayings, say you can't say that. I'm from New York. I'm the host. I can say that. but when your lot, it's basically all things metal. Okay, from small sheds to basically you have a shed for every need. Yes. Of a homeowner or even a business owner. Okay. But then on the other hand, too, you're thinking about, container homes and container pools. everybody, I think, from one degree to another, is conscious and trying to do more sustainable things, not just in their life, but in the things that they do. And when they look at, a container home, I mean, they're being used for a whole lot of different needs and services. Where, I've had on my show, politicians or veterans that are wanting to go make a difference, like you, Matt, in the community, going out and working with the municipalities, building container communities for veterans.
Yes.
Because there's so many of them out there that need it. Lord knows, I mean, every time I hear a bad story of a vet, and all these things are going on in the world, it just drives me nuts. So when I see somebody, especially a politician, taking this bull by the horns and saying, I don't care what they're going to think of me, I'm going to do this because this is what's right.
Yeah.
And we're going to be able to do that. So taking that into consideration, you're going to be showcasing all of that. And now we're going to have container homes and container pools. And I think, Matt, we talked about this, yesterday, or this morning, talking about, there are a lot of homes out there that are VRBOs. So they'll come and call me and they say, well, I want to make like a casita on my property. Well, that's a 20-foot container home that you could either use for a VRBO or, use it for a family member or something like that. But how cool is it that you can actually have one of those and a pool, and now use it, for a multiple different, types of purposes. If you want to, make it a business and list it with the VRBO people, and you can list it. You've got a pool on your property, which you're going to be able to get more money for it. And that's going to be good. So, you're looking at a whole bunch of different types of groups of people, homeowners, business owners, we're talking about VRBOs and stuff, people that are seasoned investors, even maybe people that by having these and the, light bulb goes on when they come to the lot and they say, well, I can do this. And this could be another source of a revenue stream for me. So I think you're hitting, you're in a niche market, but it's a big niche because it's going to appeal to so many different kinds of people.
Yeah, I agree. I love so many things about the sustainability. I know we talked about this, the liners, the fiberglass. I'll call them, for no better term, fiberglass liner. I mean, they are spectacular and they're just beautiful and come in 4 different colors. And outside can be any color you want, and it's just amazing. But you had mentioned that these aren't like the minimal of what you can get away with for your fiberglass, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think you said it's 3 times what's actually required for standards. So I love that. I love providing high-end products.
Backed by popular demand, let's dive deeper into the Zula from Mobino Solar Solutions. This remarkable shed ventilation system, armed with 3 potent fans, not only prevents mold by maintaining optimal moisture levels, but also acts as a shield against indoor allergens, ensuring a clean and healthy workspace. The Zula is more than just ventilation. It's an air quality superhero. Powered by solar panels, it revolutionizes your shed experience, creating an environment where you can breathe easy. Elevate your workspace with Zula, the ultimate solution for improved air quality and circulation. Visit Mobino Solar Solution today and breathe in the freshness. Visit Mobino's site for more on this innovative solar shed ventilation solution and use the Shed Geek 10 for an extra 10% discount. Go now to www.mobinoSolarSolutions.com.
You do a lot with solar.
Yes.
tiny homes, and it sounds like that's the market you're going to be getting into. So let me introduce you gentlemen to each other.
There's more to discuss.
Yes, there's more to discuss. But sustainability, solar, I mean, the recent storms and the lack of electricity and all this, of course, the solar panels would have blown away too. Let's not kid ourselves. But why do you think solar is so attractive to folks for like tiny homes and that sort of thing?
I think it's because they are thinking that they, for some people, that they want to go off grid. Okay, and they're able to go back and, you and I met with a gentleman in Phoenix who actually is doing just that. He designs small but powerful systems for tiny homes, container homes that are off grid, so they be able to go back and if they can set up a home out, up in Greer or in the wilderness somewhere, and it doesn't necessarily have to have, a hard utility hookup.
Right.
And depending, again, on what you have there and what you utilize for, it will determine on how big the system. And he builds all these systems custom depending on your needs. In fact, I know when we get back, we have to touch base with him to make sure he got back from Young.
Oh, yeah.
Because that Young, Arizona is a little while away, and he was going up to take care of one of his customers for exactly that purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of off-grid property across the country. We both know of a lot in northern Arizona. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, we're running our new office. It's going to be off solar. Right. So to get hooked up to the grid would be tens of thousands of dollars that we just don't have to do that. Yeah. So, to invest $15,000 instead of $40,000 or $50,000 sounds like a pretty good deal to me. So we'll keep you posted. We may have an episode of disasters of the solar shed gal or success of the solar shed gal. I have full confidence it's going to be just fine, and we'll have Adam on. We'll have Adam on the show here soon too.
I want to make one more point before we continue, is the fact that our energy costs are not going down.
Oh,
they're always going to be going up. I mean, here in Arizona, APS and SRP, every year it's going up. And you go across the country, and we're not talking about 3%,
right,
or even 5%. I mean, Tucson Electric went up 8% in the beginning of the year. And if you go across to Texas, and especially up in the Northeast, it's off the chart.
Right.
So if nothing else, the reason that, if when the utility rates go up, do you get a raise?
No,
you don't get a raise.
Right.
So we have to, as homeowners or business owners, we have to absorb that cost. Yeah. So why not take it and basically lock your rate in now with a solar system, and then the rates can go up as high as they want because you won't be affected. But all the money that you would have been paying that utility company as it went up is now in your pocket.
Yeah.
And you can do anything you want with it. You can come to Vegas and see Matt, and look at some container pools. But the thing is, be smart. Think about it, and don't have tunnel vision. Think about where we're going and the future, and that's what's going to determine, and of course, how big your pocketbook is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Very true. Well, we did try the solar thing. Oh gosh, it's been about 3.5, 4 years ago, and it was one of those situations where we were overpromised, and
they under-delivered.
And they under-delivered, and it was just a nightmare, and that was not so much fun. But I'm certain that this is going to be a completely different experience. So, and once again, that's a referral from you. So I appreciate that very much. Where do you think? So you've talked about tiny homes. Are you talking about like a 8 by 20 tiny home? Are you talking about 8 by 40s? Are you talking about multiple containers put together? What are you thinking that your vision of the future for your company?
Yeah, so it'd be both, just in regards to size, but then we'd make our own containers to be able to, do multiple different sizes. So it really comes down to the lot and what makes the most sense. But the vision behind that is got to kind of give me a vision to create this ecosystem to where I meet the needs of my clients from, any of my clients' needs that are all manufactured goods, from pools to housing to safety centers to a number of different manufactured products. But then on the outside of that, while I'm bringing guys in that are in prison, when they get out of prison, they'll go into a transitional living community. There'll also be same community for veterans and for low-income housing. So we're looking to kind of attack all of that. And the way that I see that is with a 500 home development here in Las Vegas. That's going to have a number of different sizes. There's going to be 8 by 20. I've found a lot, and I'm going through the initial phases right now of getting everything architect designed out, and then we'll be moving forward with the city to figure out all the nuances. But I think modular builds are taking over. There's only a small percentage of builds within America are modular builds, so I think that's just going to continue to rise and rise. I think containers are going to be a big part of that. We see just container homes and container pools rising, but then I think people are going to want larger sizes as well. They're going to want larger, longer, different shapes, and that's where I think the true modular style comes in, where we'll have an engineered product that will be built to spec and we'll ship all across the country, and then the modular build will get into commercial. It's already there. Like we'll be getting more into commercial, more into industrial, and pretty soon there's going to be all the hospitals you see and commercial centers and strip centers, and all of that is all going to be modular builds done either out of containers or done out of a pre-manufactured product in a factory. So the idea behind that, just to finish off that thought, is again going back to impact and to lowering cost. I mean, costs are just rising; they're not going down anytime soon. So how can we combat that? And I think lowering construction cost is one of them, and that's where modular builds comes in. So very excited about that. I think the future is limitless, and I think designing and developing communities specifically to attack low-income housing, veteran housing, and transitional housing, I think that's going to be kind of the next thing and what people are going to be working heavily on.
Very nice. So talking about the durability of these, I think that we can all agree that container homes can be much more durable in storms, and for whatever reason, we seem to be having some horrific weather and doesn't seem to be improving, but this might be a way to help people. I love the idea of tiny home communities for veterans and really anybody that needs a place to live. We have a huge issue in our country with homeless, and it's, if you don't travel and get out of the country or get out of your county, you may not realize that people from many other countries wonder what on earth we're doing here. What are we doing with the problems? I think that container homes can, if you can figure out a way to make it work, you could really be onto something, because if we can take the politics aside and keep that out of it and keep the huge administrative costs and just put the money to housing people that are human beings, in our country, it'd be a much more pleasant place to live for many people. Boxcar universe. So it's like almost like a glorified I don't even like the word handyman. It's like a glorified handyman. I bet people call you for anything, like literally.
I tell everybody I can fix everything but a broken heart.
Oh, isn't that? I love it. So,
but that was my origins, because when I moved to Arizona, I was still working for this transportation company, and I was commuting back and forth between LA and Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
And I noticed that, all the new friends I met and everything else, it just seemed that, I saw a lot of shabby work and everything else. And I was like, finally I got fed up with the commute. And I said, I'm just going to go strike out on my own, because I know I'd been doing carpentry work since it was in my 20s. I
Wow.
worked for an amusement company back in New York. I used to, those old, you go to the fairs and stuff, you see those tables where you pitch a dime and try and land it in the middle of the pedal.
Yeah.
I used to build those from scratch. So I had a lot of carpentry skills when I started.
Right.
And then I said, I'm just going to go take that and run with it, and I'm sure like everybody else who starts, we don't know, I don't proclaim to know everything, even now after 30 some years experience, but still back then it's like, homeowners asked me to do certain things that I needed to get skilled at. And I'm like, okay, well, can you do this? Yeah, sure. Okay. And what is the first thing I went and did? This is going to show my age here. He went back in the day, he went to Home Depot and bought a $9 VHS tape on how to fix that certain thing. I watched it, and because I could watch something once and then the light bulb goes on, I could fix it.
Right.
I went back and fixed it. So you started growing that way. So, but we all have to start from somewhere. And that's where we've grown to, learning bigger and better renovations that people ask me to do. And again, partnering with the right people, because you can't do it all. Like we learned with Wes, you have to work in your business, not on. You can't work in your business. You need to work on your business and delegate. Just like Matt said, you have to learn how to delegate so that you are freed up the time, so you can allow, your brain to think on everything that's underneath you and see the big picture.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, and I think we get in the, and again, I'm more familiar with it than you two gentlemen are, but I think we get caught up on that. On the metal building side and the manufacturing side, we have manufacturers that just do an amazing, incredible job of manufacturing. But they take on too many things. It's hard to delegate. And now we have to train dealers and teach dealers. And oh, by the way, we need to teach them to be business people. And they're so far out of their element. Delegate. Find someone who does what they do really, really well, and teach them to do what you do, so you can move on and use your brain to find more ways to build your business so you can impact more people, right?
Have you been considering adding a line of greenhouses to your brand? At Cold Spring Enterprises, we have the perfect solution for you. By incorporating greenhouse products into your sales location, whether you're a do-it-yourself dealer or a manufacturer supporting multiple shed lots, you can expand your customer base. We offer easy-to-assemble greenhouse kits that will simplify the process of adding greenhouses to your lot. You can choose between two basic styles, an economy style and an A-frame style. We can ship a standard 8x12 greenhouse kit directly to your shed lot or manufacturing location. These kits include all the necessary components for assembly, except for the wainscoting or clear panels, door, and fan. However, we can assist you in connecting with the supplier for these items. Moreover, we also offer negotiable bulk pricing for multiple units. To help you get started, we are pleased to offer an exclusive discount through the Shed Geek podcast. You can receive an 8x12 economy or A-frame style greenhouse, complete with wainscoting or clear panels, a screen door, and fan. The pricing for a complete one-time display unit starts at $2,195 for an economy style and $2,545 for an A-frame style, excluding shipping and tax. For more information and to request bulk unit pricing, please visit www.shedgeek.com/cold-spring-enterprises and fill out your information, and someone will be in touch with you as soon as possible. Or simply go to the Shed Geek newsletter and click on the greenhouse picture to fill out your information. Thank you for considering our greenhouse kits. We are excited to work together to bring greenhouse kits to your line of products.
So let me ask you this, homeowners associations, I thought we had a lot of those in Phoenix, and then I look over here to Matt, holy cow. I don't know of a neighborhood in Vegas, well, I'm sure outskirts a little bit. I did a mission I think it was late November for a shed manufacturer that wanted to come up into Vegas, and I'm like, I don't think that's gonna work. How do you get your shipping containers into someone's backyard if they live in an HOA here in Vegas that have the block walls?
Yeah. So, well, our pools fit within the new guidelines for what pools have to fit in, just FYI.
Perfect.
So we fit within that. So have yet to sell one here in Las Vegas that is within an HOA zone.
Okay, it'll happen.
Yeah, it is going to happen.
Well, let's say they have a block wall. How you getting that pool in there?
So what we would do, so number one, so like with all HOAs, we're gonna have to submit to get approval. They're gonna want to see paint colors. They're going to see heights of how it fits in the ground. Does it fit within the easements and build lines and all of that? So assuming it meets those requirements and you get approval, next is you have the pool manufactured. It arrives to you, ready to go. You're gonna crane it over those brick walls and over your house and into your backyard. So, and that install would happen like that wherever you are, regardless if you're dealing with just a regular wood fence, brick wall, or you can't get somewhere with a forklift. A crane is always gonna be the way to go.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it was funny when I came up here. Oh, excuse me. I actually spent 2 or 3 days driving around. We started in Boulder City.
Okay.
Kendra and I and Kurt were driving around Boulder City, and I saw a lot of metal buildings in people's backyards, and I saw a lot of home-built sheds and tough sheds, but I didn't see any portable buildings, and I left here going, I don't think a portable building company is going to work real well in Clark County, Nevada. Right. Much more likely to work in Phoenix, since we have more people that you can actually deliver buildings to. I think it's amazing that these pools can be craned in and put in place. I mean, they are spectacular.
Did you hear about the tiny home ordinance here?
Oh, no. Okay, wait. He asked if I heard about the tiny home ordinance in Vegas. I did not hear
Clark
about
County.
this.
So, like, they've passed a number of laws that allow for tiny homes. They have to meet certain requirements, right? You have to have it match the house. Depends on where you're at. So you have Clark County, North Las Vegas, and then you have Henderson. So it's 4 areas. So each 4 is going to have different rules and different zoning that you have to stick to. But you can always apply for a variance for those zones, and they're moving in a direction to allow for other tiny home units to be. I was looking at buying a property that was actually in Henderson that was approved to have a tiny home in their backyard, to where the only requirements was that it had to be the certain square footage which a container met, and the face of it, the front of it, had to match the home, and the roof had to match the home. That was it. So it can be out of container, just have to do siding and do a roof on it. There's requirements for the inside about could it have a kitchen, not have a kitchen, but Vegas is moving in that direction to allow for more tiny home communities and to allow for sheds or tiny homes to be in backyards that will be considered ADU units that will allow for the homeowner to have an additional stream of revenue.
I love that. I think it's fantastic because I think Phoenix might be either talking about or they've done something with allowing more ADUs, but for shed builders that are doing on-site builds or craning sheds in, I mean, the sheds that are available out there for many, many, many companies are spectacular.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they're a shed manufacturer, but I mean, what a great start to a tiny home.
Yeah, the end of last year, most of the municipalities in and around Phoenix have made changes to allow a secondary dwelling on their property, just because of the way the world is and the way the economy is. So again, which opens up a whole new avenue of ideas and things that people can do. Like I said earlier, for revenue streams, for having, building a casita on some way, shape, or form on your property, because obviously, the inspectors come by, and one of the things that I learned that before they did that, the inspectors around in all these different cities, when you went in there with like a container home project and they looked at it, it was like they looked at it, they had no clue. They had no clue because there was no precedent before it. They had nothing to reference. So the best thing that they could do and say is, sorry, we're not doing it. And it's like, okay, so what do we do now? But again, when there's a good idea and then there's a need in the marketplace, it always seems to help nurture that industry to be able to one day, like, I went to a home show in Westworld in Scottsdale, and one of the people there that had tiny homes, all of a sudden they made sure that they put out, a flyer on their table. It said, as of such and such date, these municipalities now allow secondary dwelling units, or better known as ADUs, and they listed all of them, and they're basically all the ones that we do business with.
Yeah.
So and that was just important. So yeah, it was the industry is growing, and it's moving and expanding.
Yeah. It's so funny because it was just over 7 years ago when I started out, and that was Washington State 7 years ago. I know back east, and they are farther advanced in the manufactured buildings, but like there weren't any finished off buildings available. You couldn't find a manufacturer in Washington State 7 years ago that you could say, well, I'd like to buy this portable building, and then now I'd like you to finish it off. I mean, people were doing it. They were finishing it off themselves. But that reminds me of like talking to a couple of people at different counties, and then like they had no idea what to do with these portable buildings. Even though, 2x4, 16-inch on center, and 2x6, pressure treated floor joists. And I mean, absolutely fantastic quality, but they just rather say no, and it didn't make any sense. So I'm glad to hear that they are coming around a bit.
Yes.
What are you most looking forward to with your business? So how far are you into this business? I mean, you're not 20 years into it. You had a business. You moved from Houston. The whole family followed you. They're all involved in the business, which is awesome. How far are you into this? And you talked about tiny homes. Are you hoping to add other products down the road, or you just probably maybe don't even know what you'll be offering 5 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, most excited about transitioning into be a full-blown manufacturing business. Mm-hmm. So I have multiple businesses underneath this roof for a reason, but I have pools, and then I have manufacturing, and then we'll have housing as well, which is just starting up. So it's like I don't have a house to showcase back there, but I'm working through with the city right now, with the architect, and moving forward with the city, and then we'll have a blueprint for what I need to do for at least my first housing project, because the goal is to develop into manufacture homes and to develop communities and provide jobs and all that. So what I'm most excited about is just continued growth. I love business. I love the engineering of a business. I'm very big on systems and processes and automating everything, tracking everything, paying attention to data, making improvements based off of that data, and adding different components.
Does this sound familiar, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah. That's literally I just love the business side of things. And growing and paying attention on what's working, what's not working, doubling down on what's working, focusing on problems, like kind of staying away from all the opportunities, because you're going to have, as business people, just tons of opportunities. Focus on problems, solve those problems. I promise you, opportunities will go nowhere. That's where I'm at now, is just focusing on problems and solving problems and problems and problems. So I would say just the continued growth. I have 23,000 square feet now. I'm going to be looking at significantly larger space for next year, either next year or the year after that, to encapsulate all of this, more hires. I will be implementing a no fire policy, so very excited about that. We'll be serving more, having more people solely just to go serve. I am really excited about the impact and to be able to use the resources that are generated through this business to go out and fund things. Like, I am really big on, let's go fund the kingdom over here. Let's fund this over here. Let's start a ministry here that can meet these needs here. Let's use this business to advance God's kingdom. So that's really what excites me. I love breaking down a business, reviewing data, making improvements, and being methodical about those improvements.
Yeah.
I love pursuing products that I can see as being the next thing, and then pursuing them until it becomes a reality or until it dies off. I love business. So I'm just excited all things business.
I think it's great. It's going to be super fun to watch your, where you take this business. You mentioned something, and we don't have too long left. I want to get to Steve, but you mentioned something, and someone out there's going to be like, what does he mean by a no fire policy?
Yep.
And now I know what it means because we talked about it earlier, but would you, I think this is important. I think it was a little epiphany to me. And I'll give you an example. I had warned someone multiple times about policies and procedures of the business, and it just changed, did not happen, and I fired them. I think, but I had this little epiphany when you were telling me about this no fire policy, because I think now I could have done more. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah. So, number one, you have to be very methodical. Like, this has to be very methodically brought to reality, right? You can't just say, like, today I want to like stop firing people and then for it to go well. So you have to be very methodical about how this is going to roll out. I don't think
firings ever go well.
So the idea behind this is, so I'm a big believer in y'all have heard me talk about this, just making a kingdom impact and being obedient to Jesus Christ. So what that means is that I have done a number of things to where any human being would have kicked me to the curb, but my Lord and Savior did not. And so what I am looking at is like, okay, let's just say Susan was a thief, right? You were stealing, and you were always stealing, or maybe I didn't know you were always stealing, but I found out, that you were stealing. So most people, their general rule would be like, okay, well, let's bring them in, let's do some fact finding, so on and so forth, and then ultimately we have to let this person go because there's a character flaw and all of that. So what I would say is, let's actually develop a program. So I've developed a program, it's called the discipleship program. Most big businesses are going to have like your performance improvement plan. This takes it kind of a step further, if you will, to say my desire is to never fire anybody, but rather to disciple them and to teach them how to be upstanding citizens within our culture. So like, we'll just use that stealing as an example. Somebody steals, they're fined out. Well, they will be brought in. They will be brought in underneath the discipleship program, and then underneath that, we develop a system to where, hey, you follow these guidelines here, then those are the steps in order to go back to work your normal day. Out on the other side of that is, while they're following that program, they will also go to work for my nonprofit. So that way, I will always, I mentioned earlier, I have serve days. Well, that is eventually, not yet today, eventually going to be an everyday thing, like 5 days a week thing. So those that are at risk for being fired, if you will, within my business, they will go to the nonprofit. They'll serve while working through a program, while meeting with a counselor. Then once they're cleared by a workplace chaplain and by a pastor to come back and work for me at the factory, then they'll come back and work. And the idea behind that is that they'll be, restored, if you will, right? They'll learn that, like, hey, most people are going to kick you to the curb. We're not about that. We actually want to bring you in, love on you more, teach you how not to steal, how to resist those urges, why you don't want to do that. Develop a plan with that of like, hey, if you do these things here, here's some goals that I know you want to accomplish. You can accomplish these goals if you do these things here while you're working through this program. And then they're serving, and then they come back and they work, and they may not be in that same position. They may have to go work at a different position or something. I don't know exactly. It just depends on person to person and what's available at that moment. But they will always have a position to come back in the company and work for the company. So the idea behind that is to represent Christ well. God doesn't kick us to the curb. We want to make sure that if I say that discipleship in the marketplace and caring for my people is what I believe in, then I have to put that to work, right? And so it looks more than just a counseling session or a coaching session. Like, let's actually draw this out, because it may take you 6 months to actually be reformed or restored, right? Or it may take you a year to be restored. And if that's the case, we have a spot for you over here with the nonprofit. You'll go serve while running through the program. Then you'll come back and you'll still be working for us, and then hopefully you'll be reformed. So that's it.
Well,
in a
and
nutshell.
Here's and don't take this wrong, because this sentence is gonna end well. That is so crazy. It's the best idea I've ever heard.
Oh, praise God. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, people out there are gonna be saying, "That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy." Yeah. Well, crazy ideas change the world.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
If more people in this country had crazy ideas like that,
Yeah.
that the world would be a lot better off.
For sure. For
You
sure.
know?
And it's so much work and everything behind it. But, I mean, those are the things that change the world.
Right. That's right.
Wow. So before we wrap, our hour is almost up already. I can't believe this. Before we wrap this up, tell me, because you're on the construction, handyman, do-it-all side, what do you think the benefits are to folks buying a prefabricated shed, assuming they can get it built or get it delivered, versus hiring a contractor or even a handyman possibly. Because it is a huge business nationwide, these portable buildings. And I mean, it's not the contractor, that you hire can't build one just as good. They certainly can. But this, I mean, what would the benefits be of a customer just buying something that's already built?
Are we talking about sheds or like container homes?
Yeah, no, a shed.
Oh, just like sheds, okay.
Just like a shed
Well,
off the lot. Off the shed gal lot.
Right? First of all, I think, there are a lot of people out there, and we have a saying I've had on my show for years and years and years, and I'll tie all this together, okay? A homeowner with tools or even a handyman with tools could be a dangerous thing. And also, just because you're a contractor and you have a license doesn't mean you're good at what you do, okay? Because there are a lot of, as my old friend used to say, there are a lot of shabby contractors out there. So you could get somebody to say, I can build you a shed, and they go out, okay, and the average homeowner who will have no clue if he's doing it right or anything else, okay? Not to mention, he's subject to all the price increases. He's buying materials for that one particular project versus if maybe he was building like 20 of them.
Right.
He could drive the cost down. So he's only focused on that. But if you buy something that's like one off your lot, it's, first of all, they're manufactured, they're done right. There are specifications that need to be done by when they're built, okay? And of course, it's so convenient if somebody says, get the lot, get the building from you, they bring it, make sure that the lot is ready to go. They drop it on the lot, and it's ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay? There's no, I have to let this guy on my property for a week while he builds this, and plus, looking at it from a homeowner standpoint, the homeowner has recourse. Because if there's something wrong with the building, they call you and say, and then you have to do customer service.
Yes.
Okay? So and do that. And then if there is a manufacturing defect, there's accountability where you can go back to them and say, hey, there was a defect in this. We need to fix this. Okay, let's make it right. If it's the handyman and he goes away and if something goes wrong, and say we have the first monsoon storm and it leaks, and you can't find him, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
you got to go find. You got to go on Nextdoor and place a post me. Please help me ad.
Yeah.
Come on. So so there's a lot of pros and cons to it, but in the long run, we want to look out for the homeowner. And the best thing to do is go to your lot. You have all these different kinds done by manufacturers that are tried, true, and tested, and pick the one that fits your property.
I love that.
And that's it.
I love that. I think it's great. Do either of you gentlemen? We're out of time already. I don't know where the hour went. Yep. Do either of you have anything to add to this week's episode? We're probably gonna. I'm gonna want to come back up here to Vegas when you get these container tiny homes. I'm gonna have to check that out. We're gonna have to do an episode. I need to follow you around for a day or two.
We'll put it on our regular travel list.
There you go.
And the lady that I started the show with, which Mel knows, we did this segment, Mel and Steve on the Street. So I guess if we're going to start putting a travel itinerary together, we could do Steve and Susan on the street. There you go. There you go.
I love it. And I need to just follow you around for a day or two to networking events.
Oh my God, there's so many things that we could do now that you're back here in the Valley. Oh, it's just, get ready, get the shoes out.
That's right. That's right. All right. Thank you all. This is Susan Frere. Thank you all for watching this week's Magnificent Monday episode of the Shed Geek podcast. I truly appreciate all of you that watch and listen, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, this is Mo Lunsford in sunny Union Grove, North Carolina, and we want to say thank you to all the guests and listeners.